Hello friends and followers, welcome back to TJ's Modeling Bench. It is time for another update on the AMT International Scout II project that I'm working on. Now remember, I'm doing this as the 1976 Scout II that my dad owned, which was the convertible top, and the AMT kit is produced as the Rally hardtop. So we're doing some modification to it. Not a great deal of modification, but we're also adding some details that aren't really there in the basic kit. So let me show you what I've been working on, and we'll go from there. The kit doesn't come with clear headlight lenses, so I'm going to do like I did for the International script on the engine. I'm going to make a mold. So I've got my real thin aluminum foil. I'm going to put the shiny side down toward what I'm molding. All right, and then one of these pointed Q-tips, we're just going to hold it in place and then burnish it in. And the points on these will wear down pretty quick. So we'll use both sides just to make sure that we get it really well done. All right, and now we can pop that off, roll it over, and we'll use our, I've got the Bendic UV light resin pen. All right, so take the end off and we'll fill this with the resin. Make sure we get plenty of it in there to fill our lens. And then the other end of this is the light. So we'll just set that on there for a minute or two. Well, not really that long. And now we should have a perfectly molded lens. And we do. That may need a little bit of trim up because I might have put a little too much of the resin in there. Got it outside the ring, but that is going to work beautifully. And what we'll end up doing with the grill itself is I will drill out the lenses that are there and replace them with the UV lens. And it should look a little better, I think, when we're done. I'm trying something new to me. Other people have done it with great success, but I'm putting on the bare metal foil over all the emblems and the marker lights, front and rear, even on the tailgate. It's got the International symbol. And then you can see on this side, I've already started to trim it as close to all that as I can. All right, so it's in primer, got the bare metal foil on. I still have to trim the ones on this side. And I have also done it on the dashboard. So you've got your heater controls here. This is a clock. There's your radio, and then probably speedometer and voltage regulator, oil pressure. Anyway, so those are on and trimmed. So then we can spray the paint, and then we'll come back with a fine Q-tip like this. This one's kind of worn down from using it. So a Q-tip like this with just a little bit of thinners on it, and you can rub away just the edges, you know, the surround of those gauges, and that chrome should show through again. So the same thing will get done here. Once the paint's on there, you can come through and, you know, gently start rubbing it off until the chrome shows through. And then I believe there are decals that go over these, but I think even with the decals, that chrome background should help them really stick out better. And then, of course, like your marker lights, the surround of those will have the chrome. and then the color will be in the middle. So I'm going to give it a shot. I know people like Craig over at Craig's Corner have done it with great success. This is my first attempt at it, but it all makes sense to me. And yeah, in fact, I think Craig, if I'm not mistaken, he's actually done this where he's laid it down and then actually gone over it again with more primer and then rubbed off the primer over that before paint. So I may have to look into doing it that way as well. And I tried to do the lock buttons on the doors, but the bare metal foil just won't stay. That little dot of it just won't adhere very well. So I'm not too worried about doing that. And then I need to look at reference photos to see this body line. I believe I still need to probably do that, but I need to look at my reference photos to be sure. But we're coming along little by little. I'm trying to improve the detail a little bit on the dashboard for the Scout. Right here, this is the decal they provide you for the instruments and the face of the dashboard. And it's not inaccurate, it's just not complete. So the reference photo I have has a wood grain backdrop, and then this black trim around the gauges is over the top of that. So what I did was I have this wood grain decal sheet from STS Decals that I bought, and I just cut an appropriate size piece, set it down with our micro set, all right, to get it into place, and then the micro saw to help it suck right down onto each of those instrument faces. You've got your probably oil pressure and your alternator current charging, your speedometer, and then your radio faceplate, and then those would be your knobs. Well, the knobs are already molded in, so we don't really need that. But what we'll do is once this has completely dried and I can handle it, then we will take this decal and lay it over the appropriate location, and then use a little more micro set and the micro saw and get that to draw itself down over those instrument faces as well. Now down here, this is the heater control, and this is actually a clock. Now my reference vehicle does not have this clock on it. No big deal, we're going to keep it. But what I did there was I used bare metal foil over those prior to paint, and then after paint I went back with a fine tip Q-tip similar to this, cotton bud. I shouldn't call it a Q-tip, that's a brand name, but fine tip cotton bud, dipped in some lacquer thinner, and then gently rubbed off the lacquer thinner paint over those pieces. So it's coming along. I just put that decal down not too long ago, so it's not completely dry yet, but you can already see how it's starting to suck down into the shape of those raised details. In the first video, I showed you these door cards just in black primer with the additional details that I had worked on, but now we've got them finished in paint, and the turquoise bluish color isn't exact, but it's pretty close to what I was looking for. And then what we ended up doing was this channel. I used, what did I use? I used bare metal foil, all right, laid it across so that it hit the edges and went down through the middle and hit the other edge. But then I used that same wood grain decal and laid it into the middle there, right, on both sides. The door handles are done with the Fusion Firm Chrome, and then the window cranks are also Fusion Firm Chrome with a little bit of, I think it was maybe a Vallejo black on the very end knob that you would hold to crank the window. Now the surround here, that is just gray primer for now, And what I'll end up doing is I will mask off the interior panel, and when we do our interior, which, all right, let me show you that too for now. So the interior bed, the floor pan, but then the transmission hump, you can see it's a different blue color. So that's a custom mix of different Tamiya paints, a light blue, a dark blue, and a green to get me where I wanted. So I've still got to do the detail painting on the shifters, but the rest of this will be white, just like the exterior of the vehicle. So these will also be painted white, and then I've added these tabs on the outside. In fact, I can take it off of this popsicle stick for the moment, so that I have something to glue it back into place with. All right, so that brings us up to date for this week. So it shouldn't be too much longer. I think right now, calendar-wise, let's see. I've got about 2.5 weeks before I head up to Fort Wayne for Nationals, so it'll definitely be done before then. We might even get started on something else before I leave. So stay tuned, and until the next time, y'all, peace and love. If you love building model cars or anything automotive related, check out my buddies Jason, BG, Justin, Mike, and Jody over at the Model Car Mania podcast. It's always a good time. And if you're just a modeler of any kind, check out the Modeling Insanity podcast, where they talk about everything styrene related.